Fear closes your mind. Fear, you look for someplace to hide. Love, you look for someplace to go.
Hey, what's up? I'm Brad McCallum out of Calgary, Alberta.
And I'm Bob Tompkins out of Anderson, South Carolina. And this is the Bob and Brad Show featuring Adam CONTOS.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Bob and Brad Show. And this week we've got an incredibly special episode because we've got Adam CONTOS, CEO, fearless leader of the world's most recognizable real estate brand. We spent 30, 40 minutes with him. It's completely worth every second of your time. Bob, what an interview.
What an interview. You do not want to miss any of the content that is in this episode. We talked to Adam about how he's built his brand, how he uses video, and how important relationships are in this very critical time. So, dude, awesome interview. I'm looking forward to watching it myself.
All right, let's don't waste any more time. Let's get right into it. Enjoy it, guys.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Bob and Brad Show. And today we are thrilled to have our fearless leader, CEO of ReMaX International, Mr. Adam CONTOS.
Hey, guys, great to be here.
Dude, we are glad to have you here. Excited for the next 30-ish minutes.
Well, I it's kind of fun to get into each other's living rooms right now, or wherever you're at, your home office. And I'm in a secluded in a room in my basement right now, away from the dogs and the family. But
like Kelly said, if you're going to work from home, you got to be in the basement. Just
strong.
Right on. Well, we're excited to talk to you about a whole bunch of things because obviously you're the leader of a big ship. Okay, what is there? 120,000 agents in the ReMaX network, 100,000 plus at least.
We have over 130,000 in over 110 countries and territories.
That's quite a few.
It's quite a few. Do you feel any responsibility at a time like this?
Yes, an immense amount. So I'm honored to have that responsibility, but also I know that it is a huge weight on myself and the organization's shoulders to do the very best we can for everybody.
Well,
go ahead, Brad.
Well, I was just going to say, I can tell you, Bob and I, even just on the agent level, we've had a lot of questions about what to do at a time like this, like even with our own businesses. And I think that's probably where we want to start off, is the question that I'm sure you've been asked thousands of times in the last 2 weeks. Bob, why don't you ask it?
How are you dealing with leading in a crisis in a situation like this? Because I feel like, there's a lot of us that, if we have team members, we're struggling with that. And then you've got it on such a macro level. How are you dealing with that?
Well, first of all, you can't let the emotion overtake you. You have to be kind and caring and look out for people's well-beings, but you also have to take a look at the fundamentals of the business and of the marketplace, and really what is going to create good leadership in this environment. And ultimately, you have to have trust and transparency and be communicative. But you also have to be willing to make some decisions that are not going to be incredibly popular, because everybody looks at, okay, what's in it for me? But business leaders are not just thinking of, okay, the company itself and the shareholders and the employees. They're thinking of the customers. They're thinking of the economy. They're thinking of longevity. How do we make it to the end of this thing, or how do we get past it where we can continue to serve gracefully, but not upset everybody in the process? Because tempers are thin, just throughout society. People are scared. There's a lot of fear, and they want to know that you care about them. So as a leader, that's the first thing you got to do, is you got to take a step back and go, I care about these people genuinely, and I'm going to do everything I can to create the best mutual benefit out of this situation I can, knowing that there's got to be some of this give and take in the process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have a follow-up for that, Bob, or Adam. because one of the challenges that I'm facing is about right before R4, I signed up 2 brand new agents. Brad McCallum is starting his team, and then the pandemic hits. And they're looking to me to provide schedule, routine, what's the best way to start a business. So what would your advice be to new agents that are just entering this business and team leaders that are maybe just newer to it, like myself? Being selfish here, Adam. What should I do? What do I do?
So I love this question, because ultimately this question is not one necessarily of, okay, what's different now? But what we have to do is we have to get rid of all the garbage that we had instilled into our lives and our business, and we have to refine this down to the few things that matter in your business more now than ever. And it's interesting because those things that matter more now in your business than ever before are the fundamentals that the business is built on, which this is a human-to-human sport that we're in right here. I mean, it is literally, I can see your face, Brad and Bob, and frankly, that's what this business is based upon to begin with, was how do we interact as humans? How do we build trust, understand challenges, and help people overcome those challenges? Because as we overcome those challenges, we get to move along in life. And in this case, it's in housing progression. It might be going from an apartment to a condo or a single family home or a multifamily unit, whatever it might be. But that's what we're doing, is we're helping connect with people. So they go, hey, Brad, hey, Bob, give me your take on this. What do you think about the housing market? What's happening here? But if you're not present, they can't ask. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the key point, not just for an experienced agent, but for a new agent, a team member, a team leader, is what's the number one thing that drives your business? And that is interpersonal communication.
Yeah.
Period. So how do we maximize that right now is the second question. Well, the best way to do that is with an emotional type of interpersonal communication. And video, we know, is the best way to do that, because you're not face-to-face with them. You can't reach out and touch them, but you can certainly reach out and see them and share your face, your smile, your eyes, your heart and soul, and what's behind your words, and help that. So really it's going to boil down to who builds the best relationships during this time. That you will see business happen during this time. It's going to be careful business, let's call it that, and it's going to be very calculated business, but there's still stuff happening here and there.
Yeah.
And it might be the front end of interest, or it might be the transaction itself, but we have to be more careful to insert ourselves gracefully into that than ever before.
Yeah. And no, that kind of jumps into what we're going to ask you next, is dealing with, in real estate, face-to-face interaction is huge. Like, that's kind of how everyone has built their business up to this point. And then we have this pandemic come in, and now we can't meet with people. So what tools are there for people that want to have that face-to-face interaction, even though, they can't go and meet with people now?
Well, I mean, the beauty is we all now have smartphones. Mm-hmm. So first thing I would say is there's really no excuse for not communicating with people. And all you have to do is open up that contact list within your smartphone, and you have a huge amount of people that you can communicate with, or go into your friends list on social media. I mean, if you come into this business and you don't have a smartphone and you're not on social media, I would question, how are you going to work in this business? Or you better start now. So those two things are good resources to begin, and just start generating value for people. And value can be everything from, hey, I just put out a PDF today. I did a web broadcast, talks about mind, body, business. And there are a few things in each of those that you can do during this time in order to stimulate your mind, keep your body moving, and help your business. That's a value piece that people would go, oh, all right, that gives me something to do. It occupies my time, and it's progressively positive. So you've got that, or you can just reach out and go, like I said before, Brad, it's Adam. I just wanted to give you a call and say, hey, how are you? I know we're in some interesting times right now. Is there anything I can do to help you, or just need somebody to talk to that is not, driving you stir crazy? So,
not sleeping from you.
Yeah, let's be friends, or let's read together, or let's share a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever it is together. And or hey, Bob, how's your barbecue skills looking right now? Let's make a burger together or something like that. So this is still about people.
Yeah, I know. Just on a personal note, as we were getting close to our end of our 2 weeks in quarantine, we jumped on a Zoom call. I've been, using Zoom. I'm now good at Zoom. Every agent has taken a crash course in products like FaceTime and Zoom and all this stuff to talk with their spheres. But we've Zoomed now with friends, just 2 or 3 other couples. Everyone grabs a bottle of wine, and we have a couple of glasses of wine, and all of a sudden we're like, yeah, let's upgrade to the full account here, to the full suite of Zoom, because we don't want to just hang out for 40 minutes. So we were a couple hours in, we're laughing, and by the end of the night, it was like just what we needed. And most of the time it's across the dining room table anyways with our friends. This way we're still at the same table and no one has to drive home, which is cool, which is a great thing.
You want to hear something funny?
Love to.
We're doing book club at my house tonight. Book club. I have 3 teenagers. I mean, when's the last time you saw like 2 college students and a high school senior get into book club?
Early 90s, Adam. Early 90s.
Totally, man. I mean, think of, and I saw this cartoon today where there was January or whatever it is, and there are people all sitting around in their house on their phones, looking at their phones, and now they're all going for a walk with the dogs, and they're playing checkers and cards and Pictionary. I mean, we literally pulled out the boxes of games and blew the dust off of them the other day, and we're like, I love this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you know what? With my new team members, since they're just getting started, that's what we've been talking about, is like, okay, just getting on the phone with them each week. I actually found that the very first week, when everything was starting to fall apart, I was kind of failing as a leader. I wasn't reaching out and really being like, okay, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do, or you know what, guys, go spend some time with your family, because we're trying to figure things out this next 4 or 5 days anyways. I don't have a big ton of stuff for you to do. But now what we're doing is just the basic things, trying to work the muscles. So when the market does shift and when we get back out into society, like the basic things of blocking off some time in the morning to reach out to your database, writing scripts for the kind of videos and content that a busy agent always knows they should have anyways, but never has time to do. I've actually never been so busy. Hey, Bob? Like we've been.
No, I feel like I've been absolutely crazy for the past 6-7 days since I've kind of gotten systems in place to deal with. This time. It's
just like going back in time 9 months though. Like the stuff that I was doing a year ago, you start to enjoy some of the harvest from it later, especially with stuff like video. It takes a while to permeate into your market, but now we're doing stuff that we might not get any result from for 6 or 9 months, but it builds those relationships. So that's cool. That's really cool. So talking about building those relationships and using video, Adam, of all the different CEOs and guys that are out there, you're super into creating content. You've got the Start with a Win podcast. You got Facebook Lives. I see your videos in my ReMaX emails all the time. Why is that so important for you right now? And you've been doing that before all this hit.
It's, first of all, let me just take you through a quick statistic that will validate some of this. 85% of people surveyed, some pretty massive marketing surveys, 85% of people surveyed want to know who a person is that is leading a company before they want to associate with that company. Okay. So, you don't want to join an organization. You don't want to, affiliate with a sports team or whatever it might be if you don't know who the boss is or who's in charge or what the values are, because the person running the show is the person who dictates the values, and the values that are there are the why. And we don't necessarily connect with a specific product or service. We connect with the why behind that product or service. And do we agree with that? Is it something that we, our fundamentals agree with the fundamentals of that? So, we have specific values in our organization that I talk about a lot. It's more. Okay, deliver to the max, be customer obsessed, do the right thing, and everybody wins. And those are simple values that we wear on our T-shirts. They're on our desks at the office that there's nobody at right now. They're all over the place, and that's my feeling about how you do business and how you live life. And that's what people want to know is, okay, Adam's running this company. What's he like? And it's funny because I was on a webinar yesterday, or a podcast recording yesterday with a chamber of commerce, pretty big chamber of commerce, big podcast. And they said, why are you doing this? Because there are a lot of CEOs who don't want to do this. I said, because I care about the people that I'm doing it for. And it's true. You want to be associated with a company that cares about you. And you might not agree with all the decisions that they make, because they have to make decisions that are balanced decisions. But do you agree with their why? What are they in this for? We're a business that builds businesses. We help our amazing brokers create amazing opportunities for amazing agents. And that helps the community. So I think without that transparency, and I call this whole thing digital transparency, without that transparency, there's a question of why, because you don't know the why. And that's what I want to fill the gap with. Second piece to this, there's something called a parasocial relationship. This is really important, okay? It's a psychological term. If you go back to, call it 50s and 60s, 1950s and 1960s, there were soap operas, right? So we've all heard of the soaps.
Yeah.
And there were magazines at the checkout aisle in the grocery store, the supermarket. They talked about the soap stars. And people built these relationships with those soap stars because they saw their face. They were human. We're humans. We're herd animals. We affiliate with different animals in our pack. And those animals were pack leaders because they were out there everywhere. Business leaders, real estate agents, broker owners, doesn't matter who you are. If you are a leader in your community, people want to see who you are because they want to know whether or not they should build a parasocial relationship with you. A parasocial relationship is a one-way relationship. They might not have met you, but they know you based upon seeing your face, seeing your expressions, understanding your values and the direction that you take your decisions. And then they decide, do I like this person and want to listen to them? So parasocial relationship is a huge aspect of this, as well as obviously the trust and transparency and values.
Well, this is the first time I've met you, Adam. And I saw you just walking into the podcast booth at R4 when I was over talking with Michael and Jesse. And what's interesting about it is that I look at someone like a Ryan Serhant, I look at someone like yourself, people who have a lot of content that you see. I already feel like I know you. So when you come on here, I'm like, Adam. And then I realize, oh yeah. And I find that in my own marketplace because we use video so much, and I know Bob does too. By the time people walk up to us, we have to get up to speed. We have to realize that they're already in that relationship with us. And so we got to get past that whole oh, hey, what's going on here? You have to get right in there with them. It's a whole new world this way. It's cool.
And then I'll say one thing. I want to kind of pat Adam on the back real fast. Before I worked in real estate, I worked in restaurants, and I had two different managers when I worked at Chili's, and it sticks in my mind so much. There was one manager that would always sit back in the office and would never come out and work with us. Would never help clean tables, would never encourage the staff, would just sit back there till the end of the shift. Then we had another manager that was always out like on the front lines helping us. And that's what I feel is so great about Adam is with the videos, he's on the front lines with us. You know, we can take the videos Adam puts out and we can show that to our people and say, look, this is what our leader is doing. This is what our brand is about. You can't do that at other companies. You can't say like, hey, look, this is what our leader's all about, because they're not putting their face out there for people to see. So Adam, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cheers.
Better latte than never.
Yeah, it's I just got my GED a few years ago, okay?
What a cheesy coffee mug. That's
I'm a dad of 2 kids, okay, Bob?
Yeah.
You'll start to understand these jokes by July, August of this year. When
Yeah,
you're
dad jokes.
Yeah, they're coming.
Yeah. So Adam, kind of building off of that, you just started doing video, probably about 2 years ago, right? Or a year and a half ago when you really started doing it. And you've built a pretty powerful brand aside from just ReMaX on your own. You seem to have a lot of brand focus in your videos. How have you kind of gone about building that brand?
Oh, this is a great question. Wow.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've been watching you build your brand as well, Bob, which
thanks.
is kudos to you and to Brad. I mean, both of you guys have done an awesome job of that. I think the first thing you need to do is you need to understand that it's the long game. Whatever you choose your brand to be your brand, but know that it's not an overnight thing. A lot of people are like, all right, I made a video, I'm good. But that's not the case. I mean, you got to make dozens or hundreds of these things in order to start building a brand, because the human mind needs consistency. We look for patterns and changes. And you got to be the patterns in somebody's life in order for them to consistently recognize you. And that's really what branding is. It's a series of patterns that relate to a product or service. That it might be a logo, it might be a word, might be a jingle, something like that. Well, we're a face with a name in a space that we're building a brand in. And if you can draw from a larger brand and attach to that, like the ReMaX balloon, largest real estate brand in the world. And that's why we attach ourselves to that. I mean, I've got it on my sleeve right here, the balloon, and it says ReMaX down the front of me. And people were like, hey, you're the ReMaX guy. I'm like, how'd you know that? And they go, why? I saw your video and ReMaX, and okay, I put it together. So, all I got to say, the best advice is be consistent, be valuable with current relevant information, and be something that attracts people instead of something that repels people. People don't like negativity. Some people who are negative will attract negativity, but I mean, that's not the brand you want to be. Okay.
It's also not the client you want to have.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's attract people that are really hard to work with.
Yeah. I think that you're a pretty authentic guy. I think that's what works for Bob so well, is Bob is so clearly Bob. Like, he's who you wanted him to be. And so I think that if you're going to be building a lot of content, just from day one, just be yourself, and your tribe will find you from there, because it's really hard. It takes like mental calories and energy to be a luxury agent or someone you're not. And it's gonna shine through that you're a phony over time. It'll be too much energy. And to create content, you got to be in that mindset all the time, always putting stuff out. So much easier if you really know your true north, your message. Yeah, and it's clear that works with these guys here.
Brad, I want to touch on that, because I mean, that is an incredibly powerful piece. When you take what Bob said of building a brand and what you just said about content, I mean, ultimately that's where the magic happens, is right there in the middle of, okay, you're there, you have a presence consistently, brand, you're bringing value. All right, I hit my mic here. You're bringing value, content. That's where people gain something from this affiliation. And that's what we have to be in this relationship for 100% giving. I mean, you can't ask for anything in return. This is not about hey, please send me your real estate business. I'm not in it for that. I'm in this for, look, I want to help you where I can. And that's the space that I happen to know really well. So whatever I can do for you, I'm all in. There's a difference there. So how do you create content? And I mean, Brad, you guys are both awesome at this. You have to be learning every day in order to be creating every day. And you can't miss this opportunity to go. I mean, you've got to be looking for things and go, that looks like a little diamond in the rough. I think I will take that and I will polish it up and then I will hand it out to people. And that's really, really important that you pointed that out, Brad, because content is king, context is queen. But if you have neither of them, the kingdom falls apart. And I mean, that's the reality there.
You know what? I was watching a blog this morning, and one of the guys, it was Ryan Serhant. One of the things he mentioned was that in the Great Depression, right? The Great Depression, every downturn in human history gives birth to a brand new industry or something that's good that comes out of it. And he referenced like Joe Shuster writing Superman and how that has spanned off into billions of dollars and everyone around the globe knows who Superman is. He talked about Leo Fender and the electric guitar being born out of the amplifier. But if you put both those back into that time of the recession or the downturn or the Great Depression, what you see is that people turned to content, whether it was music or entertainment or distraction or whatever it was. They turned to content because that's the only place that they could go to get a bit of an escape from their reality. And I thought, wow, that is such a cool point for what we're trying to do right now. So that would lead me to what I'd like to ask you is, for agents right now, what is the opportunity that this unique time in history is providing them?
The opportunity that agents have right now is the ability to do things that they normally would be distracted from doing. So those things that they need to be doing that they normally would be distracted from doing is focusing on working on those relationships and scaling those relationships. And we touched on the key points for doing that: content and connection with your community. Best way to do that right now is, best way to normally do that is to get in front of people. But you actually have an opportunity to scale this because right now we're not going and visiting people face to face. We're visiting people virtually. And the number of people that you can visit virtually in an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours is massively more than visiting people in person. So really what you need to do is just be that voice of happiness, that voice of reason, that voice of confidence and direction for people in society right now, where they would otherwise be on the news or on social media listening to somebody give a criticism, a speech, or some sort of an open loop scary story. You got to be that voice of, look, it's going to be okay. I've done my homework on this. We're resilient human beings, and we're really smart. Let's give ourselves a little bit of credit here. We're going to make it through this. Yes, we're going to learn some things. Yes, we're going to find out that this thing does take some victims in it. Mm-hmm. And that's sad. And we're all going to know somebody who's been inflicted by the illness. However, we're also going to grow in our love, in our connection, in our opportunities to be better. So, the biggest point that I would tell agents right now is write down the 3 to 5 things you need to do and get rid of the things you can't do because of our quarantine, because of our physical distancing. We're trying to get rid of the word social distancing because we're trying to be socially closer. But, our distancing, and how do we make ourselves better human beings? Because I think this is almost kind of a reset button for humanity. If you look at the upside to it, it's a reset button for humanity, for us to figure out how do we do good things for each other, and then each other will do good things back. It's the law of reciprocity.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, if there's one thing I could say to kind of build off of that too, is as humans, we have a tendency in these sort of circumstances to feel like we're alone in stuff. And when we turn on the news and we see the negativity, that kind of drives that fear that we're alone. And we have an opportunity as agents and as people of influence in our communities to be able to reach out to our sphere and offer to them that they're not alone, that we're kind of all in this together. And I think that togetherness does a ton for the human spirit to help us kind of push through this and know that we're going to be okay.
Yeah, it's an incredible point.
You know what, Bob? I've been on the phone this week with a lot of worried sellers and a lot of people concerned about the markets. And the one thing I say is like, just don't let fear be the thing that makes you make that decision, right? Like, just don't let fear guide your decision right now. And don't ever count the human spirit out, because if anything, we will build back from the smallest little remnant of hope. Like, people will do that. And that's when it comes back, when this thing starts to come back, it'll be amazing what gets born out of it. That's my opinion.
I agree. We're going to look back on this and go, I learned a lot about myself and a lot about humanity and a lot about things that I was doing that I shouldn't have been doing and things that I wasn't doing that I should have been doing. I mean, it's, a mindset of abundance versus this limiting mindset. And that's what it's going to boil down to. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're always so positive. Yeah. I mean, I am. I mean, and I love it. And here's a key point that I learned a while ago. Human beings have two emotions. We only carry with us two emotions. We have fear, which is our default emotion. Anytime something's happening or we don't know the answer, we always give it worst case scenario in the open loop in our mind, which is why you see this, the hook or the words like concern or, numbers eclipsed the virus numbers from last, whatever it might be. You're like, ah. So right. we always open this fear loop. And what's a fear response? Fight, flight, or freeze. Mm-hmm. And that allows us to rationalize excuses to things where we decide why we can't or shouldn't or aren't somewhere. Okay, what's the only way to overcome fear? Love. That's the only other emotion we can have. This is an intentional emotion. Fear is unintentional. Love is intentional. If we decide to love the opportunity, if you're talking to somebody who has fear coming from them, notice this. Because if they have fear coming from them, their heart, their words, their eyes, their face, you can see it if you look for it. And you look for it and you go, okay, the worst thing you can do is give fear to fear. Push against fear with fear. You have to give love. I love your passion for this. Let's figure out a solution. And when you give love is unconditional giving. Okay, unconditional giving of feelings, thoughts, whatever it might be, value, something like that. Love will fix the fear. Action will overcome fear. And action is giving love. So, whatever that love looks like, it's value, it's a smile, it's thank you. I mean, thank you is a give. So just think about that. And that's how we will get through this and how we will keep our mind open. Because when you have that feeling in your mind instead of fear, fear closes your mind. Fear, you look for someplace to hide. Love, you look for someplace to go, to grow. So you will find opportunities. This is when you will grow your business, when you'll find more customers, when you will find more connections, when you find more opportunity.
I love that.
Bob, is there anything that we could say at this point in time to add to the value that Adam just dropped on us?
I don't think so. I think that's probably the best possible way we could leave this conversation.
I think so too. Adam, man, we know that you have got so much on your plate, but we so appreciate you taking out the time. I know if Bob wasn't here, I probably wouldn't be getting this interview. So thank you, Bob, because this was a great opportunity to get to know you, Adam. I'd love seeing that on a one-on-one or two-on-one conversation here with you, that you're exactly the guy. I think everyone already knows you are, but it's super authentic. Really appreciate the leadership that you've shown to those 130,000 agents across the market.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I'm honored to be on here.
Thank you, Adam. And the only negative thing I have to say about Adam is that R4, he let me walk right into a sign and didn't tell me I was about to walk in. He just watched me walk right into it.
I didn't know what to say. I'm like, Bob's backwards. He's backing up, talking to me. He's like, Adam, what's going on?
Through this sign. You were afraid? You were afraid? Love. Action, Adam.
Yeah.
Say something.
Choose love. Choose love. Thanks
Bob,
so much, guys.
I got to say one thing, though.
Yeah, go for it.
Bob is, he's the kind of human being you meet virtually, and then the first time you see him, it's like a big hug. And Brad has the best hair of anybody I've ever met. So look at that.
Yeah, I won an award for it last year. Never mind. It's
All right, love you guys. Thanks for all you guys do. Everybody you know where to find me. Look me up on social. Check out Start With a Win, the podcast, and Adam CONTOS, CEO, on all those social channels. I'm here for you, and if there's anything I can do for you, let me know.
Thanks, Adam.